Good day everyone, and welcome back to the channel. It's Londononion here with another Back 4 Blood Cleaner Synergy Analysis. And in this video, I'm going to be revisiting Act 2 and give an alternative take on what I consider to be a theoretically sound team for optimal progression. Now, it is important to first state the parameters and limitations before undergoing our analysis. As we are all aware, deck builds are essentially the cornerstone of Back 4 Blood. And given the various combinations they can be arranged in, some of our talking points will inherently be rife with nuance and open to alternative opinion. But this is not meant to be a dogmatic presentation. Next, a major part of evaluating synergy will also be centered on acts and the levels that make them up, each of which requiring different strategies for optimal progression depending on difficulty and corruptions. Now, since this is a revisit, we won't be re-evaluating the stages, but each stage was assessed in accordance with our major areas of difficulty and the demands for success on each plane in our last video. Lastly, for those that were present for our cleaner role-based deck builds, a good portion of today's discussion will be based on our earlier interpretations of each cleaner's meta, as well as incorporating their role designations and the associated implications. I highly recommend checking out that playlist, which is available in the video description. And of course, we're going to assume the difficulties of both Nightmare and No Hope, which naturally come with heightened corruption demands. Just to briefly summarize Act 2, in our last presentation, I stated that overall, Act 2 seems to have a major demand in Blitzkrieg and attrition, while adaptation takes a back seat with more shorter stages, while challenges and bonus objectives are at the discretion of each cleaner team and how surgical they wish to be. Fulfilling them, however, does make preparation much easier with increased copper reserves. So to start us off, as usual, I'll select a cleaner that fits the profile of the alpha grouping first, and work from there. As per our revisit for Act 2, I decided to start with Evangelo. I have Evangelo built with the role of Scout and Independent Cleaner. His build makes him a specialist in movement, stamina, and health preservation. His loadout is geared toward high economy / low caliber firearms, and melee weapons. For those that were present during his role-based deck build discussions, Evangelo is naturally squishy with no direct defenses. His movement speed, especially while firing, and stamina is his defense. He can easily outmaneuver most threats with the correct reaction time, and crowds are less of a stressor since he will be using higher economy weapons. Alternatively, they can also be a source of health if prepped for properly with a melee weapon. From a tactical standpoint, I had stated earlier that Evangelo is also fitting for the role of Scout, implying that he is best equipped for initial exploration or leading a charge to a given checkpoint. His speed allows for quick progression or retreat when needed. Given that he is equipped with higher economy weapons, at least against common, written, and weak mutations, his lead will not be a major stress on ammo reserves. Coupled with his natural weakness of no direct defenses, he also does not have extra lives. In the face of mutations and bosses, he will have to adopt more of a stick-and-move approach, as heavy offense is not necessarily part of his skill set. This will sometimes mean that Evangelo will temporarily take a back seat to a more offensively capable cleaner. This approach to difficult enemies is a double-edged sword that can work synergistically with other cleaners, and this will transition us to our next cleaner to support Evangelo. So for our cleaner in the major grouping, I would select Walker as the leader support with enhanced DPS. Walker was built as an expert in general damage and some defense, coupled with decent movement and stamina. Walker can function as both a leader and a co-leader. Personally, however, I would argue his talents and current build are better reserved for targeting tougher enemies while supporting a given leader with general defense where needed. Ideally, Walker's loadout would be assault rifles and a low-caliber pistol. With 2 firearms, Walker can be an ammo-heavy cleaner, though in this Onion's opinion, this is negated through proper employment of each one based on circumstances. Secondary fire would ideally be reserved for basic ridden and defending teammates. not only to save on higher caliber ammo, but also reduce the severity and odds of friendly fire. As a corollary, his primary would ideally be reserved for tougher targets. With Evangelo as the main leader to handle more of the common threats or distract tougher threats, Walker would be the conditional and harder hitting leader to deal with greater threats. Walker also comes built with 2 extra lives, and damage reducing cards in the event of breached defenses. So we currently have Evangelo as the main deterrent for low grade Ridden, and Walker as the diversified Ridden and mutation deterrent. Both also have relatively seamless movement, which allows the team to maintain a brisk pace and not get caught up in traps that have timed hordes, as this can be ever present in Act 2. We are, however, still in need of a team supporter and ideally another heavy offensive cleaner to answer for bosses and breaching mutations as the rear guard. Just like our previous videos, we'll select our rear guard first, then determine our team supporter. For this team composition, I decided to go with Hoffman as a boss specialist equipped with high damage / low economy weapons. I have Hoffman built with a strong prowess for throwables, LMGs, and overall offensive diversity. His loadout would be an LMG and a hard-hitting shotgun, i.e. the AA-12 or TAC-14. As the rear guard, Hoffman will mainly target tough enemies or immediately halt threats that have breached main defenses. Though he is equipped with hard-hitting weapons, his Hunker Down card allows him to fire freely without having to worry about friendly fire. In regards to ammo expenditure, Hoffman can act as a source of random ammunition, decreasing demands on attrition or giving more leeway in stages with greater longevity. Use of stage accessories / hazards are also more viable since Hoffman enhances their effects. His health preservation is mainly through the use of fire and tossing throwables. However, there is no health / trauma restoration, but only temporary health. Hoffman's main defense is his offense. He also is not built with any stamina or movement enhancing cards aside from Meat Grinder, which only enhances crouch speed. This is somewhat compensated with Evangelo's team perk of enhanced move speed and his accompanying card Mandatory PT for boosted stamina and stamina regeneration. Lastly, he does not come with any extra lives. For our last cleaner, it was a toss-up between Doc and Prophet Dan. Roughly speaking, Doc is built to aid with health and trauma. Prophet Dan is mainly built toward extra lives and contingencies. Given our team composition, this junction can be summed up between a preventative / proactive healer or a more reactive and passive supporter. So I decided to go with Prophet Dan. He is built with a series of healing and contingency cards to compound on top of his randomized effects upon successful revival. Anytime a cleaner, including Dan himself, should fall, or anytime a horde is triggered, all cleaners can gain increased damage, health, ammo, reload speed, move speed while firing, and swap speed. I decided to go with Dan since both Evangelo and Hoffman are not running with any extra lives. The team as a whole, however, is quite offensively capable and may benefit more from contingencies than prevention, though both in this Onion's opinion are viable options. Dan does not have any particular loadout, and I would generally argue that the supporter's loadout is last in priority. Looking at this team on an individual level, each of them address an aspect, or aspects, of difficulty. Evangelo mainly addresses longevity with attrition, as well as some horde efficacy, due to his loadout, seamless movement, and stamina. Walker doubles down on the attrition plane with his loadout, and bleeds into addressing the crescendo and longevity corner with his offense, defense, movement, and stamina. Hoffman mainly addresses the blitzkrieg plane, as he can put a sizable dent in virtually any threat with his offensive capabilities. His ammo and accessory provision put a damper on corruptions while feeding into attrition. Lastly, Prophet Dan as the supportive hub provides the most answers to the corruption corner and adaptation plane, that being second, third, or more chances at pushing through a stage with some compounding perks of his own. Where this team may fall short, however, is with copper reserves, which can create a strain on upgrading a team commensurately with the increasing corruptions. Superfluous offense by Walker and Hoffman can still be an answer. Meanwhile, the many contingencies of Dan and survivability of Evangelo can compensate for lack of copper-related cards. Otherwise, that essentially sums up our synergy analysis today. Thank you guys for joining me on this one, and in our next video, we will be moving on to Act 3, where we will be constructing a cleaner team that this onion considers to be theoretically sound. It's been Londononion, and I will see you guys next time.